Welcome back. It's time now for our hot sauce conversation. Here's Victoria and Dr. Lana.
We have Dr. Lana of Delaware Pediatrics and the medical director of the Buffalo Public Schools here with us. And we're going to talk about a problem that, we've been talking about for years, asthma. Number one, let's start. Is it getting worse or it's just getting diagnosed better?
I think a little bit of both. Asthma is a chronic condition. So chances are if you've had one episode of asthma, you're going to have more in the future. And actually, maybe backing off from that a little bit, the first time that somebody wheezes, we're reluctant to say that that's asthma because one of the defining characteristics of asthma is that it's recurring. So the first time could be just a one-time thing because you had a viral infection, because you had an exposure to something that irritated your lungs. But if it reoccurs and it's reversible with asthma medicines, then it's asthma.
So is it just a stereotype to think that it's spurred on by vigorous activity, like if a kid is running and all of a sudden he just can't breathe?
Yeah, that's a tough one because then it brings into play, is it cardiovascular fitness that they can't breathe or is it true asthma? Asthma is very heterogeneous. It means that there are different forms and different varieties. So you alluded to one, exercise-induced. Sometimes it's cough-induced, sometimes it's virally induced, sometimes it's pollen-induced, sometimes it's infection-induced. What's important to realize, though, is that if you have asthma or your child has asthma, that there are some things that you can do and ought to do to make sure that you control it as well as possible because asthma can be fatal.
Right.
Not to mention the impact on quality of life, lost school days, lost work days. So asthma is reoccurring, and if you have asthma, you should be, one, familiar with your condition. What are your triggers? Triggers can be secondhand smoke, dust mite, animal dander, infections,
wide variety,
pollens, environmental changes, sometimes even emotional upset. So there's a wide variety. You need to know what your triggers are. You also need to know that asthma should always be treated with 2 classes of medicine. So if you only have 1 class of medicine to treat your asthma, you're not being treated appropriately. So one is the rescue class. That gives you immediate relief. It opens up your airways. It allows you to breathe. Ventolin, albuterol, Proventil. Inhalers. Rescue medicine gives you quick relief. Unfortunately, those wear off in 4 to 6 hours, and then you still have the underlying conditions, the stuff below the surface that is still there. So that's where the controller medicines come into play.
Such as?
Such as inhaled steroids or singular, other medicines that block the mediators that give you the symptoms. So you can't just treat the symptoms. Treating the symptoms are important. That's the rescue medicine, but you need controller medicines as well. So talk to your doctor, have an asthma action plan, be knowledgeable about what your medicines are, what they're used for, and what your triggers are. Avoid the avoidable. Secondhand smoke, children and secondhand smoke, especially with asthma, should never go together. Dust and dust mites, big problem. Environmental irritants, big problem. During the spring, with pollen being very heavy, a major trigger. So treat your allergies so that they don't trigger your asthma.
And don't treat it lightly. If you suspect, go right to the doctor.
And get your flu shots.
There you go. Good doctor always reminds you. All right, Dr. Lana, Buffalo Public Schools medical director, as well as Delaware Peds. Thanks for joining us today.